What is currently happening, programs? Welcome to The Grid, where I'll be bringing you this week's news in VR. It's Friday the 5th of May, 2017, and all I can say this week is, from out of the ashes we rise. We've got Oculus Story Studio closing down, eye tracking and foveated rendering are almost here, Chet Falizik bails on Valve, Acers Rift and Vive competitor, and much more. Today, I'm going to cover off the main events to keep you in the loop. So stay locked, crush that like button, enjoy, and welcome to The Grid.
What is currently happening, YouTube? Facepalm here, your friend in Oz and NZ, bringing you reviews, tutorials, and game clips, minus the shit. You can follow me on Twitter at Facepalm with a 1, not an L. As for here on YouTube, if you like what you find, then like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to bring your game face. Let's get it done.
Welcome to the 10th episode of The Grid.
Cheers to that, motherfucker!
Before I get started, I'd just like to take 2 seconds to say thanks to each and every person who has liked, commented, and subscribed to my channel so far. On the Grid series alone, we've had over 25,000 views, close to 100,000 minutes watched, and a fucking metric shit ton of likes, comments, and support from, in my opinion, and I honestly mean this, the best viewers and subscribers on YouTube. So really, thanks. And just so you know, I've got plenty more material, tutorials, and game clips, minus the shit, coming up. So stay tuned and I'll see you all in the comments. Anyway, enough about you lot, let's talk about VR. This week, Oculus has announced that it is closing down Story Studio, which was responsible for a series of free shorts like Lost, Henry, and Dear Angelica, which essentially brought us a completely new and unique way to be engulfed in some stunning narratives. And while this may seem sad straight off, or maybe you're thinking, is this a really bad sign for VR? The answer is no. No, it's not. In fact, it's quite the opposite for a couple of reasons. First off, you have to keep in mind that this sort of thing doesn't happen overnight. There is a high chance that this was part of the plan since prior to the Rift's launch, or even before the initial pitch to Facebook. Who knows? But what we do know is that last year alone, Oculus committed an additional $250 million to fund VR content, which was directly responsible for games like Robo Recall, Wilson's Heart, and Rock Band VR that we all enjoy now. And so, like any big business, Oculus would plan in advance what to do with that money during the year, and a rough idea what they would do with that money again the following year. And if we look at this comment, which reads, "Now that a large community of filmmakers and developers are committed to the narrative VR art form, we're going to focus on funding and supporting their content. This helps us turn our internal research, development, and attention towards exciting but unsolved problems in AR and VR hardware and software." It basically says Oculus is using money they would have spent on releasing free short stories into further development of the technology itself. And as much as I adore the stories this studio has told, if I had to reevaluate this year and pick which I'd prefer at this stage, I'd choose additional resources directed towards hardware and software development. To me, it appears Story Studio has served its purpose. People get it and love it, and redirecting the money Oculus has available towards fleshing out some immediate hurdles like wireless headsets, inside-out tracking, eye tracking, and foveated rendering, more on that later, lowering production costs, and subsequently lowering the retail cost of VR sounds to me like a great focus over the next 12 to 24 months prior to a CV2 release. Because I've got to be honest, wireless HMDs are right at the top of the list for me, and a native solution built into a new Rift sounds a lot better than paying additional dollars for an add-on, though I definitely wouldn't say no to an add-on at this stage. I think the future looks bright here, and this does seem like a smart move from Oculus at this stage in the game, and I'm itching like a junkie to see where this is all going. You got any more of them advancements in technology, man? Speaking of advancements in technology, a company called 7invensun, I'm sure that's how you pronounce it, is releasing an eye tracking add-on for the Vive in the third quarter of 2017. This company was one of the startups involved in HTC's Vive X program, and the result in this case is a two-piece add-on for the Vive HMD called aGlass. aGlass is a two-piece kit that fits inside the HTC Vive's face mask and connects via USB to bring eye tracking to reality, actual virtual reality. That's right, actual virtual reality eye tracking, really tracking eyes in actual virtual reality. Nailed it. Now, while I'd hope this type of feature will be built into second generation commercial VR headsets, having an add-on option right now is pretty neat. And where this really gets cool is with social experiences like Bigscreen, Facebook Spaces, and AltSpace. In these apps, you are represented by a virtual avatar, but the main problem with these avatars at the moment is the eyes don't look where your eyes look. But with eye tracking, the tech can track your eye movements, the software can read that data, and then your avatar's eyes move also, which means you can make direct eye contact with people. So while this may mean you can't sneak in a cheeky look at some sexy floating virtual legs, not that I'd do that anyways, it does make for a more realistic and ultimately more immersive sense of presence in these social situations. But the main place eye tracking comes into play is with foveated rendering, which essentially tracks where your eyes are looking and only renders the central part of your gaze, aka the foveal region, in high resolution, while rendering everything else in progressively lower resolutions. So what this means is that instead of having to use a high-spec, expensive computer for VR to render every part of every image in high resolution, you could use a lower spec, cheaper computer to render only a specific part of an image in high resolution and the rest of the image in a less taxing, lower resolution. And if you want to see what I mean, then take note of what you are looking at now. You're seeing this video nice and clear because you're looking directly at it, but things in the corners of your eyes are blurry. So why then does VR need the whole image rendered in high resolution if we can't see the whole image in high resolution? Well, it doesn't, but it does need to know exactly where we are looking and when we are looking at something in order to determine which parts of the image can be lowered in resolution. And you may have heard that foveated rendering is a while off, but what's even cooler about this tech still is that aGlass comes bundled with software that adds foveated rendering to any HTC Vive experience. And you can control the amount of the effect being applied. So not only is eye tracking almost here now, so is fucking foveated rendering. Sorry, it really is very cool, as foveated rendering means cheaper PCs to run high quality VR, which is a lower barrier entry to VR, which means more people in VR, which means more VR. Regardless of how this pans out, this already seems like it's going to be a great proof of concept, which for all VR in general is an awesome step in the right direction. And on the subject of cheaper VR, Microsoft has given us some more details on its more budget-conscious mixed reality headset, which is kind of turning out to be a VR headset anyway. Apparently, for around an estimated $300, their unit will have higher resolution than the Rift, inside-out tracking instead of a limited 100 degree by 70 degree field of view on the Rift, and it will weigh in at 350 grams, which is lighter than both the Rift and the Vive. It's slated for a release of around December this year, and it's already in the hands of developers to make sure there is content available to support the release. Now, while this all sounds exciting, I mean, who doesn't want better field of view, better resolution, a lighter headset, and a cheaper price? To me, the appeal of this device all depends on the time frame Oculus and HTC plan for a second-gen iteration of their HMDs, i.e. CV2 or Vive 2. Right now, the Acer HMD looks great on paper in comparison to the Rift and Vive, despite the fact that it doesn't have any hand tracking like the Oculus Touch or Vive ones announced to come with it, but the Acer HMD isn't even out yet. And for me, if I got wind of a second gen Rift or Vive anytime near the projected Acer release in December, I definitely wouldn't drop any cash on the Acer unit for these minimal upgrades, at least until I knew what the Rift and Vive second gen specs were. If the Rift or Vive was 6 to 8 months away from the Acer release, however, I would 100% recommend the Acer unit to my budget conscious friends, as long as it has the quality and the capability to play current Rift and Vive titles, or at least has great VR content in its own right. Because for me, and most of you I would imagine, the content is ultimately what sells these things. Food for thought, and I'll keep you updated as we go. And briefly, Chet Faliszek, Valve's face of VR, has quit working at Valve after 12 years. And while you may be all like, well, there are a couple of reasons you should be interested in this news, whether you are a VR fan or just a gaming fan in general. For one, with Chet leaving Valve, this means that the entirety of Half-Life's writing team no longer works at Valve. And secondly, Valve has said that they are committed to making at least 3 VR games, which should see a release in the not too far off future. Though, if you remember Half-Life 3, that could be whenever the fuck they feel like it, if they even end up feeling like it at all. Still blows my mind that that's even actually a thing. And so, without these key writers, who will pick up the slack? I'm not saying the writers Valve has are shit, I'm just saying that these original writers have a proven track record of bringing us content we love, so I'm a bit concerned to see them go. And if I think back on this post from Chet where he wrote on Twitter, "We need fewer reaction shots of someone playing VR for the first time and more stories about how longer pieces move people," I have to wonder, was he trying to push these types of longer experiences at Valve and maybe Valve pushed back? Well, obviously I don't know, and I'm not big on riding the misleading gossip train, but it does raise my eyebrows in a skeptical manner, just a little bit. Regardless of that, whatever Chet moves on to, I'm sure he'll be happier and it will involve some moving narratives. All the best, Chet. Also, there was a Bigscreen update this week that adds 3D drawing for sketching, whiteboarding, or, you know, drawing giant dicks. It's a great update and could be useful for corporate style VR meetings and presentations. Or, more importantly, for when you want to meet up in big screen VR with your mates and draw giant dicks. And finally, for those of you that use Wallpaper Engine on your PCs to get some sick moving desktop backgrounds, which I cover how to set up in this video here, a user called BoldCityDigital has just added 3 Oculus Rift CV1 themed backgrounds that you can use with this program for free. They're simple, elegant, Oculus themed, and I actually have the Oculus Rift CV1 glow with logo installed now, and I love it. So if you want to mix things up a bit, then check the description below for a link to those wallpapers. And that's this week in VR on the grid. If you have more you would like to add, then hit me up in the comments below and let's discuss. And if you like this video, then crush that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!
Thanks for watching today's video. Just remember you can follow me on Twitter at facepalm with a 1, not an L. As for here on YouTube, if you like what you find, then like, comment and subscribe. But don't forget to bring your game face. Facepalm out.